Hi everyone, welcome back to another video for Phantasy Star Online Blueburst. In today's video, this is going to be relating specifically to the Ephinea version of Blueburst. What I want to do is, I want to show you some options that Ephinea gives you to improve the quality of life of the game. So as anyone who probably plays later games knows, going back to a game like PSO can feel quite daunting sometimes because there is very little in the way of quality of life. It is very archaic, it feels a very old-fashioned game. On Ephinea, there are quite a few options that you can use in the game to try and tailor it more to your needs and to make it feel a little bit more palatable to play. Hopefully these little tips will give you a bit more enjoyment with PSO if you are struggling with it. And some people might not be aware they exist in the first place. So with that, let's get on to the first one. So the first thing I want to cover is just in the Ephinea launcher. So when you first launch the game, you'll get this launcher. And there's quite a few things that you probably want to have a look at in this. So the first one is right at the top. You have this slot marker here, and by default it will say slot 01 to 04. This is the character slots that load when you load the game. Now Ephinea, as most people who play PSO know, you are typically restricted to having 4 characters max. On Ephinea you actually have up to 32 characters, but you can't access them all at the same time. The way that you swap between them is to swap the slots around. So, as an example, I can actually show you this straight away. So, if I show you slot 1 to 4 here, and if I click on it, you can't actually see it, but there is a drop-down menu that appears here. For some reason, it doesn't capture on OBS. But it basically says slot 1 to 4, slot 5 to 8, slot 9 to 12, 13 to 16, 17 to 20, 21 to 24, 25 to 28, 29 to 32. Depending on which of those you click, it will load those 4 slots when you log into the game. So you could have 4 characters on slots 1, 2, 3 and 4, but then let's say you want to make a 5th character. What you can do then is you go into this and you change it to slot 5 to 8. Again, I know it doesn't show on the camera, but there is an option in the drop down menu. If you change this to slot 5 to 8 and then click start game, the game will actually load those slots separately. So what I can do is I can actually show you that now. So this is as we log into PSO BB with slots 1 to 4 selected, and sure enough when I log in it shows me my 4 main characters. So we've got these 4 characters here. If I now back out to the launcher again, change this to slot 5 to 8 and then log back in again, it'll actually show some different characters. So let's do that now. So now that we've logged out, change it to slot 5 to 8 in the launcher and then log back in again. You can now see that when I log back in, it's loaded 4 different characters. So this is a way of having up to 32 different characters on Ephinea, which allows you to have basically whatever you want. It allows you to cover, specific characters for challenge mode, or if you want to do classic mode or anything like that, you can make specific characters for that. It gives you that freedom to be able to make those characters, whereas normally on PSO, particularly on the console versions, you're normally tied to having 4 characters. I think on Dreamcast it may have been even less. So yeah, you've got up to 32 characters on Ephinea, so go wild. So now that we're back in the launcher again, we can now show you a few other things that you can do as well. So in the launcher, if you go to the options, there's loads of things that you can change in here to sort of alter the gameplay experience. So on the first screen, there isn't really a whole lot. There is a high-res HUD, which just neatens up some of the textures for the HUD. It does look quite nice if you want to use that. There's not a whole lot else you can do there. The other one that might be worth looking at is the HUD scale, which actually allows you to scale up or scale down the heads-up display, like all the UI basically, just so you can set it to however big you want it for your resolution. So next up, if we go to the next page, so this is where you have a few more quality of life improvements. So the first one is this, which is SDJZ icon. So what this is, as you probably know in PSO, when you cast shift or a deband, you get an icon just up where your health bar is that shows you that you've got shift and deband on your character. What this does is if you select it, again, the drop down menus for some reason don't work, they don't capture, but you have options between either normal, blink or fade. So normal is the typical PSO behavior, so what that will do is it will show you the icons when you've got shift and deband, and then they will just disappear when shift and deband run out. If you set it to blink, they will start to sort of pulse when shift and deband are about to run out. I can't remember the time frame for how long's left. It might be when there's a minute left or so. or maybe 30 seconds, but it basically starts to like pulse the icons slowly so you can notice that they're about to run out so you can recast them. Alternatively, there is fade as well, which that will just gradually fade the icon out, so it'll fade out more and more as the buff starts to run out. I personally like to use blink because it's really noticeable. You can sort of see it pulsing out the corner of your eye, and it's really good for keeping an eye on when buffs are about to run out, particularly in quite hard quests like some of the tower quests. The last thing you want is for your buffs to run out. Next to it we have mag alert. This will actually give you an alert in game whenever your mag is ready to feed. So again, very useful, particularly if you're raising mags. This is a really useful thing to have on. Next up is a huge one. So one big problem that a lot of people have with PSO, particularly if they didn't play it back in the day, is struggling with the camera, fighting with the camera. As you probably know if you've played PSO any amount, the only way of kind of resetting your camera in PSO is to hit the left bumper, which will basically flip the camera back around the back of your character. So if there was an enemy behind you, the way that you would quickly reset the camera would be you would turn your character to face you and then press left bumper to flip the camera back around. What this allows you to do with analog camera control is actually use your right analog stick to control the camera. Now, it is still kind of a new feature in Ephinea. I personally don't use it just because I'm so familiar with playing PSO. To me, playing PSO with the analog stick camera control feels a bit weird, so it's probably not for me. But if you're more used to a game like one of the later games like PSO 2 or NGS, and you're used to having that analog camera control, this could be a really good option for you to turn on in PSO. So the option is there if you want to use it. I would say particularly if you are fighting with the camera and you are finding the camera frustrating in PSO, because I can understand why it would be frustrating for some people. This could be a really good option to turn on. There is also the usual sensitivity and dead zone options as well, so they allow you to fine tune it to your liking as well, which is really nice. So next thing is, this is quite a new feature as well on Ephinea, a thing called show mob drop. So if you have been playing the game for a while, but you're hunting for an item on someone else's section ID, you might not know what the monsters actually drop. For me personally, if I'm hunting something on Skyly, because I've ran the ID so much, I kind of know what things drop. But if I'm doing a game on someone else's ID, for example, if I'm running a Green Hill game, I have no idea what Green Hill drops. I've got an idea on some of the drops, but there's a lot I don't know. What this will do is it will actually show you in the game what the rare drop is for each monster. The way it does it, I'll actually show you in game in a second. Basically on the targeting window for the enemies, it will actually show you the drop. And there are a few toggle options for this as well. So the first one is, again, it won't show up for reasons I do not understand. But the options are, you have disabled, which just keeps the feature turned off. So if you don't want to know what the rare drops are for the monsters, you can turn it off. You can have drop only. That will just show you what the rare item drop is for that monster, but won't show you any drop rates or anything. You can have drop current rate, which will show you what the current drop rate is. Now the reason for that is because if you're playing during, for example, a rare drop week, like a Ragdoll Boost Road, or if you're playing during the 25% rare drop boost week, your rare drop rates are going to be different to normal. So drop current rate will actually show you what the actual current drop rate is for that item. So as an example, for Sealed J Sword, because we have to mention Sealed J Sword, normal drop rate is 1 in 12,603, but during the 25% RDR boost, it drops down to 1 in 10,082. So it will show you that it's a 1 in 10,082 drop rather than showing you the normal drop rate. And then finally, the last option is drop current and base rate, which will actually show you the current drop rate and the base rate as well. It's a really useful feature. It's not going to be for everyone because some people like the surprise of not knowing what things drop, and I totally get that. I think maybe if you're playing through for the first time, I would maybe recommend just keeping it turned off so you get the surprise of what drops. But if you get into a point where you actually want to hunt something, or if you're playing on an ID that's not familiar to you and you want to know what things drop, this is a really good quality of life feature to show you that. So with that, let's get into the game and I'll show you exactly how it works. So here we are in Ultimate Caves, and what you'll see is that when we actually get some enemies, so when this Vulma comes towards us here, when we target it, you can see at the bottom left of the screen, just here, you can see it says Vulma, attribute A beast, which is the normal thing it shows. And then underneath it says drop, chainsword, and then 1 in 1050. And then again it says 1 in 1050. That's because I'm showing the base rate and the current rate. At the moment we're in experience week, so there's no rare drop boosts. So that is the actual base rate as well. So you can see it's telling us that this monster can drop a chainsword. Will they drop a chainsword though? No, they won't. And again, for these guys, it says red sword, 1 in 900. So it's a really good way of keeping track of what things actually drop. I think, again, particularly if you're running an ID that you're not familiar with. So if you're helping someone out with a hunt, for example, it's a good way of seeing, well, I wonder what else drops here. It just really, really good quality of life change, but it is going to be something that's not for everyone. So that is the rare drop indicators. Again, there is a few different options you can use to tweak it. So if you just want to see what the item drop is without seeing the rate, that's fine, you can do that. If you want to see the item drop and just the current rate, you can do that as well. Because I have heard some people say that they think it makes the target window a little bit cluttered, which again, I understand. For me, I like having it on, but yeah, it's going to be personal preference really. So next, while we're in the game, let's talk some commands. So Ephinea has quite a lot of different commands that you can enter in the game, which can simplify certain tasks or show you information that's quite useful to you. So one that I think you should use from the get-go is /bank. So if you open your chat window and type /bank, and then press enter, it'll say bank shared. And if you do it again, it'll say bank character. So what this is, Ephinea actually has a character bank for each character, and then also has a shared bank that all of your characters can access. This is fantastic because it basically means that no longer do you have to trust dropping an item on a floor for someone and then switching characters in the hope they won't steal it, which is the way you used to have to trade between characters back in the day. Yes, there was a trading system built into the game as well, but you were still relying on a lot of personal trust that the other person wouldn't just steal your items. So having this is a really big game changer for PSO really. So just to show you how it works, if I go into my bank here, so this is my Hunewall's personal bank, and if you look at this, for example, the first item here is a Galatine, then a Soul Caliber. So that is a personal bank. There is a lot of rubbish in there I need to get rid of. So just remember that there's a Galatine, then a Soul Caliber. That's a personal bank. And you can also see that there is just over 3 million Mazetta deposited in it. That's another thing actually. Ephinea also has a larger Mazetta limit for your bank. So normally you are limited to 999,999 Mazetta in your bank, I believe. Where in Ephinea, the limit is a lot higher. I don't know what the limit actually is. I've never hit it, but it is higher. So anyway, that's her personal bank. If I then come out of this and go /bank, you can see it says bank shared. And if I go back into the counter again, it's now a totally different bank. And this is a bank that all my characters could access. What this does, first of all, gives you a lot more storage space because it's another 200 slots that all your characters can access. But it just makes trading items between characters a whole lot easier. You can just dump things in the shared storage, switch characters, and then pick it up from the shared storage. So it's a fantastic change, and I would thoroughly recommend doing it. What I would actually recommend that you do, instead of typing out /bank every time, like I did for a long time, if you go into your chat menu and go to shortcut, you can assign shortcuts here as well. So you can see I have /bank here. So what this means is if I press Shift and F3, it will enter that command. So if I do Shift and F3 now, you see it says bank character. If I press it again, bank shared. So it's just a really fast way of going between the two banks. So another command that you might have seen there as well is another really useful one, which is this one here, /lobby. So quite often you'll be in a quest in PSO where, for example, you might be doing a rare run. Again, I'm going to use Sealed J-Sword as an example here, but the most efficient way to find a Sealed J-Sword is typically solo, is to run Phantasmal World 4 2-floor runs. After the rest of that, if you don't use this command, what you would have to do then is either quit the game, or you would have to run back down the 2 floors of tower, run back into the teleporter to the lab, run from the lab teleporter back to the lobby teleport, well, back to the quest counter, and then exit the quest from there. It's a lot of extra steps to do. What /lobby allows you to do is what it sounds like, which is it takes you straight back to the lobby immediately. So if I press, I've got it assigned to Shift and F2 at the minute. If I press Shift and F2, again though, you can just enter /lobby like that. But for me, because I've got it bound to a shortcut, if I do Shift and F2, it instantly takes me back to the lobby. So a very, very useful way of just getting back out to the lobby so you can make another run. So let's set another game up. So another thing, you probably see it just quickly on the side there, but there is a little window that pops up when you enter a game that shows you the current section ID. It also shows you the drop system, as in whether it's old school PSO drops or whether it's the PSO2 system of having instance drops. It also shows you any experience and rare drop boosts as well. I think it might also show you the drop all rate boost as well. So again, very useful. Another command that you can use is to keep track of your materials. So if you do /mat count, that's MATCOUNT, it will show you your material usage on the side of the screen here. So you can keep track of any materials you've used. There is also a command to reset your materials as well. That's on the Ephinea. If you go on the Ephinea webpage, there is a page on there that actually has all the commands listed as well, which I would thoroughly recommend looking at. I might put that in the link to in the description as well, just so you can check that out. I'm not obviously going to do it on this character because she's got max materials and I'm not resetting them. I think it does ask you to confirm it anyway, but yeah. Additionally, if we're speaking of commands I'm not going to do on this character, there is a way to change your section ID. There are some restrictions with this, so I believe the command to do it is, I think it's /mod_sec_id, so MOD_SECID. It will ask you to put in the section ID as well, so if I wanted to change my ID to red rear, I would type /mod_sec_id space red rear and enter that. I think it might ask you to confirm that as well. There are restrictions to using this, so first of all, you can only do it once per character. Second of all, you can only do it as long as you are below level 20. Once you get to level 20, that command gets locked out, you can't do it anymore. However, occasionally, on very rare occasions, Ephinea might give you a sec ID change token. That's normally done if they make any considerable changes to the drop charts. Occasionally they will give like a token out to allow you to change the section ID if you want to. That is quite rare though. There was one a few months back, I think, when they did some changes to the drop charts, but they are quite a rare thing. For the most part though, you are looking at one use below level 20. Alternatively, another way to get the section ID you want is to just find any random name that fits the section ID, and then you can mod your character name as well. Again, there is a command to mod your character name as well, which will be on that website as well. I can't remember what the command is off the top of my head because I've never actually used it myself, but there is a way to change your character name as well. There is also a command to wipe your challenge mode data. This character doesn't actually have any because she's a Uniwell, she doesn't do challenge mode. But there is a way to wipe any challenge mode data, which I know it wipes your times. The only thing I'm not sure on with that command is if it allows you to then rerun challenge mode and get the rewards again. I'm not 100% sure on that. I do need to look into that. So that's a few commands that you might want to use. So what I've got here is the Ephinea server commands page. So this is ephinea.pioneer2.net/server-commands. And this features a lot of the different text commands that you can put in the game. So I've covered a few of them already in game, but I'll go through some others now. So we've already covered lobby. The next one I want to cover is this one, which is show wep. So show wep, what this does is, normally in PSO, if you get a rare weapon drop, it will show up in blue text as special weapon. What show wep will do is it will actually show you the name of the weapon instead. So let's say that you're hunting for a specific drop and a red box drops. All you need to do now is just run towards it and you can just check immediately to see if it's the drop you want. Normally it would just say special weapon, you would have to pick it up, check the requirements, see if you could figure out what it was. If you weren't sure, you would take it to the checker to figure it out for sure. You still do have to take things to the checker with this, you still have to try for the plus 10% tech, but this will show you the weapon name. The other benefit to this as well is it also works for unidentified normal weapons. I don't know if that's tied to this command or not, but it seems to be that it shows me what the special is on unidentified weapons now as well. So if, for example, a Hell Raygun drops, it will say Hell Raygun instead of just question mark Raygun. Other advantage of this as well is if someone else on your team gets a red weapon drop, on Ephinea you might have noticed that when someone gets a rare drop, including yourself, there'll be a bit of orange text at the side of the screen that will say whatever the player name is, found, and then whatever the item is. However, it will only show you the item name. If it's a special weapon, it will only show you the item name if you've got show up enabled. If you don't have this turned on, it'll just say, for example, player 2 found a special weapon. So you don't know what it is. But let's say, you could see your friend going absolutely wild because they found something crazy rare. But because you don't have show weapon, to you it just showed up a special weapon, so you've got no idea what it was. If you type in /show wep and then that drop happened, it would say, for example, so-and-so found Heaven Punisher or so-and-so found Psycho Wand. So it's really useful. Just nice quality of life improvement, honestly. Now, I would recommend using this. If you do want to keep the mystery of what the rare drops are, I totally get that. I get that's part of the draw for some people. I think for me, because I've played the game for so long, I know what most of the rare drops are now on certain IDs, so I just use this anywhere. Next one is kill count. So this applies to any item that has a kill counter. So there are certain items in the game that have kill counters that track how many kills you've done while that item's been equipped. And it's usually so that they can unseal. So the only items that this really affects, to my knowledge, are the Sealed J-Sword, the Lame d'Argent, the Swordsman's Law unit, and the Limiter unit. So they all have kill counters built in. And once you reach a certain kill count, you'll be able to use those items and turn them into their upgraded versions. So you can turn Sealed J-Sword into Tsumakiri J-Sword, you can turn Lame d'Argent into Excalibur, you can turn Swordsman's Law into Proof of a Sword Saint, and Limiter into Adept. Now, it can be quite hard to track how far along with the kills you are on this because it only counts kills that you do. It doesn't count if a party member kills them. There is also a little bit of desync with kills sometimes, so it can be really hard to track exactly how many kills you've done. So /kill count allows you to do that. What this will do is it will scroll a banner along the top of the screen that will list all of the unsealable items you've got in your inventory at the moment and what inventory slot they are. So if you've got, for example, 2 limiters, it will say like inventory slot 4 limiter, inventory slot 5 limiter, so you know which limiter is which. And then it will tell you how many kills that item has. Now, there may be a slight variance in what that shows to what there actually is. If you think you've done, for example, 20,000 kills for limiter and it's not unsealable, what you can do is just deposit it in your bank, withdraw it again. Or I think the other way is to switch blocks or change game. That usually works, and then just try unsealing it again and it should work. But this is just a really nice way of keeping track of how far along you are to unsealing it. The next one I want to cover quickly is /RBR. RBR is a system on Ephinea called Raggle Boost Road, and this is a system that is basically 3 different quests that get picked every week. 1 episode 4 quest, 1 episode 1 quest, and 1 episode 2 quest. And basically they get increased experience, increased rare drop rates, and any timers that would be in those quests normally are removed while they're on the Raggle Boost Road. And again, it resets every weekend. I think it's on every Sunday it resets. What /RBR does is it just scrolls across the top of the screen what the current RBR quests are. There is another way of finding this out as well. So if you're in the lobby, if you speak to the assistants at the counters who make the games, there is an option, I think it's called Statistics, that will show you what the Raggle Boost Road is as well. But you can use the command /RBR if you're in a game, and it'll show you what the current RBR is. So again, really useful. Again, I've already mentioned about the section ID changes. If you want to change your name, it is /mod name and then a space and then whatever you want your character name to be. Just a note, if you do this, it will not change your section ID. So don't think that you can use this to get a free section ID change. The whole point of this is that if you're happy with your section ID but not your character name, you can change your character name and it will keep your current section ID. So the next ones I want to cover is these 3, which are /HUD, /CAM and /map. So let's go into the game and I'll show you how those work. So here we are in PSO BB, and we're just in the forest. So the first one I want to use is /HUD. So again, you can just type it straight in. So /HUD, and what this will do is, unsurprisingly, it will get rid of your entire heads-up display. This is really, really useful. So if you want to take a screenshot or something, it just gets rid of all the HUD. You can still use everything. So for example, if I press number 1, I can still use my barrel on the bottom. You just have to remember what's what. But so everything still works. It's just that it just gets rid of your HUD and you can't see what your health is or anything. It's more useful for things like screenshots, I think. Again, if you type /HUD in again, it'll come back. Just remember that depending on your text input settings, you might have to press space first, because obviously you can't see the HUD or what you're typing in. So if I do space /HUD, you can see I can't see what I've typed. There you go, it still works. So the next one is /map. So if I do /map, this actually zooms the map. So this is, I would say, quite useful in some areas, and I could see this being quite useful in places like challenge mode, because the maps in challenge mode can be quite complicated sometimes. This is a really, really useful thing. Because of how the map is in PSO as well, with it being slightly transparent, you can still see everything fine. So this is a really nice thing to do. I kind of think this is probably a bit inspired by how PSO 2 and NGS do it, because it seems quite similar to that. But a really, really nice little thing you can do. You also notice it actually takes the map out of the top corner as well, so you don't have duplicate maps. It just literally resizes the map and moves it. Again, if you do /map again, it will put the map back there. So again, really, really simple to do. So the next one is /cam. This is a really, really cool feature on Ephinea that lets you actually control the camera freely. And I don't mean in terms of analog sticks. So if I do /cam, it says camera control toggled. You won't notice any change immediately. But then on PC, if I use my mouse, so you can see my cursor here, if I press the left mouse button in and then move the mouse, I can actually move the camera. And it's totally free movement. I can move it exactly where I want. Similarly, if I hold the right button, the camera will move forward. Again, using left to turn it around, and then hold right button to go forward. So it takes a little bit getting used to how it works, but it is very, very intuitive, honestly, once you get used to it. And you can also do things like, you can actually go pretty much out of bounds, so, and go all the way up here. You get a nice view over the top of the forest. This is how I get most of my thumbnails for my PSO videos. So you can see, it gives you a unique perspective as well. Now, just be aware the camera is kind of fixed, so if I leave the camera there and then move, the camera will not follow my character, so I can't see my character now. So just be aware that it kind of separates the camera from your character. But it does give you a really, really cool little thing you can do in the game, in that you can get screenshots you wouldn't be able to get normally. So there was another way of being able to control the camera on the older versions of the game, and this is kind of trying to emulate that, I think. Well, it's really cool. You can actually get quite close to your character as well. So yeah, that's /cam. And again, all you do to get it back is just put in /cam again, and the camera will just reset back behind your character again. And now you can see, it is back tied to my character again. So really, really nice little thing. And since this just happened, that's actually a really good time to talk about something else they've just changed recently. So PSO BB used to have a really annoying thing where if your controller disconnected, you wouldn't be able to use it again until you closed PSO BB and reopened it. They've now managed to figure it out so that your controller will reconnect again. There is an option in the launcher to use like X input settings and to detect controllers. So really, really fantastic change I'm really happy about. The last one I want to cover very, very briefly is There is a function now as well to prevent you from accidentally picking up items. So that is also in the launcher as well. You can have a few different settings for it. So you can have it disabled, which is just normal PSO behavior. Or you can have it where you have to hold a button to be able to pick an item up. Or you can have it to where you need to hold a button to activate the photon blast. It's really, really useful because basically what it will do is it will lock out. Normally when you get a photon blast, your reverse palette here will become your 3 photon blasts. And it's really, really easy in PSO to accidentally activate a photon blast because you've forgotten you've got one. So what this new quality of life feature does is it basically locks out the photon blast once you've got them, unless you are on the back palette and have another button held. So for me, for example, I use right bumper to go to my reverse palette, and then if I also use right trigger, if I had a photon blast now, the photon blast would then show up. And if I release right trigger, it would go back to my reverse palette, so I don't accidentally activate photon blasts. It's again another fantastic change that I think a lot of people are very happy about, because the amount of times that I have wasted photon blasts is unbelievable, and I know it's the same for a lot of other people as well. So yeah, that's another change that I just remembered they've added recently. So that's a rundown of some of the little tips and tricks that you can do with Ephinea specifically. Again, a lot of these are just really good quality of life improvements that do massively improve the game and make it a bit more accessible, particularly if you're used to more modern games. So definitely check those out, and what I'll do is I'll leave a link to the server commands page in the description as well, just so you can check that out for yourself. If you do know of any other commands that you think are really useful, or any other tips that are Ephinea specific, or even if you just want to share some general PSO/BB tips, feel free to drop them in the comments. I will check those, and I will probably use some of them myself if I think they're useful. So yeah, we'll end that one there. If you have enjoyed the video, please consider liking, subscribing, or joining as a member on YouTube. You can also follow or sub over on Twitch. I have X and Bluesky that you can follow on, and I also have a Discord channel that you can join as well, which I'll leave a link to in the description as well. Yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.